Kevin Federline is breaking his silence, and this time, he's not holding anything back. In his brand new memoir, the former backup dancer turned pop culture lightning rod opens up about life with Britney Spears, the chaos, the heartbreak, and the moments that still haunt him nearly 2 decades later. For the first time, Kevin takes fans inside the most turbulent chapters of their relationship. From the night Britney was hospitalized to his fears for their children, his claims about substance abuse, and his thoughts on her lingering connection with Justin Timberlake. It's a raw, emotional, and deeply revealing journey through a marriage that once captivated the entire world. Kevin begins with what he calls one of the worst nights of his life. It was January 2008, and Britney's spiral was making headlines daily. But behind those flashing cameras was a terrified father trying to protect his son. Jadon, just a baby at the time, was trapped in a bathroom with Britney. Kevin recalls the fear that gripped him when he realized she had locked herself inside and refused to come out. He describes the chaos: police lights flooding the driveway, helicopters circling above, and Britney being carried out on a gurney, restrained as paparazzi swarmed the scene. He writes that they brought her out strapped down, wearing a straitjacket, and that image is burned into his memory forever. That night, he says, marked the end of their marriage and the beginning of a public meltdown that would define Britney's next decade. In another explosive chapter, Kevin claims he confronted Britney about drug use at his 2006 album release party. The night was meant to celebrate his debut as a recording artist, but instead, he says, it became a breaking point. According to Kevin, he walked into a room and saw Britney and a young Hollywood friend using cocaine. He says he begged her to stop, telling her not to go home and breastfeed their children in that condition, urging her to call her mother or anyone who could help. He says Britney responded by throwing a drink in his face before storming out, and just days later, divorce papers arrived at his doorstep. Britney, however, tells a very different story. In her own memoir, The Woman in Me, she insists she has never had any interest in hard drugs and accuses Kevin of twisting facts to make her appear unstable. The clashing recollections between Kevin's memoir and Britney's account are once again fueling debates among fans who have watched their story play out in public for years. Kevin also describes what he calls the night everything snapped. It started, he says, with something as simple as a marijuana delivery to their home. When Britney saw it, she reportedly fired the entire security team on the spot. No discussion, no explanation, just gone. Moments later, he claims, the situation escalated. She came at him shouting, holding their son in her arms, and then slapped him across the face. Kevin says their son burst into tears, and that was the moment he knew the relationship could no longer continue. He writes that the energy in the room turned dark, heavy, and unbearable. It's one of several moments in the book that paint a portrait of a couple drowning under fame, scrutiny, and emotional exhaustion. Kevin also addresses another source of tension, Britney's lingering connection to Justin Timberlake. He says that even years after their breakup, Justin's name would occasionally resurface, a ghost in the background of their relationship. Kevin recalls one moment in particular, the night before their wedding. Britney, he says, was packing with her phone, appearing nervous. He thought she was talking to her mother, but when he listened closer, he realized she was on the phone with Justin. He writes that he froze, stunned that she would speak to her ex on the eve of their wedding. Britney told him she was simply closing a chapter of her life before starting a new one, and though Kevin says he chose to believe her, he admits that conversation haunted him for years. The memoir also dives into the aftermath of their split and how fame shaped Kevin's role as a father. He insists he never wanted to be the villain, only a man trying to raise his children safely amid the chaos. He writes about the difficulty of being labeled as the backup dancer who took advantage of pop's biggest star, while privately trying to maintain stability for their sons. People said he was using Britney for fame, but he claims the world didn't see what was happening behind closed doors, the tears, the confusion, and the emotional collapse that followed the spotlight. Kevin says he never stopped wanting the best for Britney, no matter what happened between them. "She's the mother of my children," he writes, "and that will never change." When excerpts from the book began circulating online, Britney was quick to respond. In a statement released through her team, she called Kevin's new claims a desperate attempt to rewrite history. She said she has moved on with peace and gratitude, adding that she refuses to be silenced by his version of their past. She also accused him of selective storytelling, saying he has always twisted the truth to fit his narrative. For fans, her response reignited memories of a turbulent relationship that continues to echo across pop culture. A story built on love, pain, and public collapse. Kevin's memoir goes beyond scandal. It's also a reflection on fame and the heavy cost of living under constant scrutiny. Nearly 20 years have passed since he and Britney's whirlwind romance first made headlines. They married in 2004 after just 3 months of dating, welcomed 2 sons, and divorced in 2007. Yet the fascination never faded. Now, with both of them publishing memoirs, the public is once again left to wonder how 2 people can remember the same story in such different ways. Kevin insists his book isn't an act of revenge, it's redemption. He says he wanted to tell his truth, not to hurt anyone, but to finally let go of the pain he has carried for years. He admits that fame came at a price, and so did silence. For years, he says, he watched as the media painted him as lazy, opportunistic, and irrelevant, while the reality was far more complex. He describes nights spent sleepless, worried about his children, worried about Britney, and trapped between wanting to help and wanting to survive. Kevin says the hardest part wasn't losing Britney, it was losing himself in the storm that followed. As he closes his memoir, Kevin looks back on their love story not with anger, but with bittersweet acceptance. "There were moments of pure love," he writes, "moments when it felt like the world disappeared and it was just us and the music." He admits he's made mistakes, but says he's finally at peace with his past. "You can't rewrite history," he says, "but you can learn from it." For Kevin Federline, this memoir is more than a tell-all. It's a reckoning, a confession, and perhaps a plea for understanding from a world that only ever saw the headlines. And as Britney continues her own journey of self-discovery and independence, both seem to be writing their final chapters apart, yet forever connected by 2 sons and a story that changed both of their lives forever. 2 lives once intertwined, now standing apart, but forever linked by love, loss, and the price of fame.